Welcome to the Hear My Heart broadcast, where I talk about the matters of the heart. You can't understand a person without getting to the root, which is hearing them. I am your host, Tiffany Rochelle, affectionately known as the People's Cheerleader. Here's something I want to share about me. I'm an author, a speaker, a heart and a motivational coach, and I'm so excited that you've tuned in and we have the opportunity to grow together. I'm here to encourage and motivate you to be the best you ever. If you're feeling a little stuck or stagnated, or you're having a hard time getting over some things, please know you're not alone and that you've come to the right place and you're listening to the right person to help you through that. So let's dive into today's show of Hear My Heart. Here we grow.
Hey, hello. I am super excited that you decided to join me on tonight for tonight's session of Hear My Heart. I have a very special VIP here with me tonight, and I'm so excited to introduce her. But before I do that, I need you to do me a super huge favor, please, and thank you. Okay, so my son would decide to call me in the middle of a show. I forgot I don't have him on I have him on what do you call this doggone thing? On emergency. So kids always break through. Thanks a lot, J2, for calling me. Your mother loves you. Nevertheless, um, I am going to tell you, I need you to do me a super huge favor. Sharing is caring. So I need you to show me your care, please, and thank you by giving me a share. Push the share button, share this button with somebody, share this program with somebody, share this program with a friend, a neighbor, a boo, girlfriend, boyfriend. You could take it as it is a spouse, or it's just that, what do they call it down here? Friend girl or friend boy. Nevertheless, I need you to go ahead and share. Sharing is caring, and I need you to show me how much you care. Enhance somebody's life, because you never know what that individual is going through. Sincerely, we go through situations, troubles, ups and downs, and sometimes we just don't share it with individuals. And so, you sharing this particular show very well could help somebody. I'm gonna go ahead and say you might just save somebody's life. So, show me you care, help somebody else, help a friend, help them by sharing. So tonight's VIP is a communication professor. She's an author and a motivational speaker. She's an expert on communicating in relationships and improving connections. Let me tell you something about her mission, okay? Her mission is to educate individuals on how to understand their communication patterns to enhance their personal and professional relationships. How about that, right? So, with that being said, prepare to have your life enhanced. And I am going to bring to your forefront my friend, my blue sister, Dr. Cassandra.
Hello.
Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine. Are you enjoying all of your sunshine? Because I'm a hater.
Yes, it's a lot of sunshine right now. We did not get the rain that you did, but we are hoping for some of it.
I promise you, one thing is for certain and another thing is for sure. I will share it with you. Okay. I said earlier, sharing is caring. I promise you, I will share this rain with you. Okay. This rain is no joke down here. And I'm just like not understanding. Well, I should be grateful for the rain. I had made a statement earlier, as in like we're sometimes we get so emotional and we're always like, oh, I can't wait for the sun to come out. Man, the sun needs to come out. Sun comes out and it's like, oh, it's too hot. We always find something to complain about. And we can't
Mhm.
never be happy and content in the state that we're in. Be happy if it's sun shining, be happy if it's raining. Be grateful that you get to experience that and you can feel it.
Mhm.
that's what that's what I say. Like, I mean, it's just an amazing feeling to have rain and to have sunshine. However,
Mhm.
comma, it's just we'll fuss about a lot. Have you ever realized that we just are fussy,
Yeah.
emotional individuals?
Oh, yeah, and it's usually on the things that we can't control. So if we realized that, we would probably stop fussing about it, right? Like that we can't change the weather just by bitching about it.
All you doing is just fussing, and I understand. Like, I sometimes believe in complaining to the right individual. Sometimes it's like, hey, how you doing? I can't complain, even if I did. I love that whole phrase. I can't complain, even if I did. Nobody's gonna listen. Who cares? And I'm like, there's a lot of people that you might, if you fuss to the right person and if you complain to the right
Mhm.
individual, things can possibly change. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people that will fuss and complain to me because they know I have the power to change things in my
Mhm.
profession. So they come to
Mhm.
me to help with their change. Wait a minute, girl, do you got green in your hair too?
It's probably some of the blue that fades out to like more of a turquoisey because there's a
Uh-huh.
couple different shades of blue in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a whole squirrel moment. I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of and I was like, oh, colors. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So listen, you got a whole book out, right?
I do.
I don't even have to worry about my statement. We're gonna go on and get to the matters at hand. So you got a whole book out. What is the title of your book?
It's called Being Whole,
Uh-huh.
Healing from Trauma and Reclaiming My Voice.
Oh, I absolutely love that. What is the significance you think about being whole? Why do we have to be whole individuals?
It's one of those things where I have had a lot of different circumstances throughout my life where I felt like I would go through therapy or I'd go through something and get move through it and then the next thing and then the next thing. And
Mhm.
finally I said, I'm tired of feeling halfway whole or halfway healed. I want to feel
Okay.
whole.
Hmm.
Like there was
Hmm.
always something, right? And
Right.
so for me, it was about like recognizing the ways that I can be whole and the what
Okay.
I need to do and what that means to me in spite
Mhm.
of all of these other things that we can't control or that happen to us or that make us
Mhm.
feel broken, right? Because I
Okay.
spent a lot of my time in life feeling broken, and like I needed fixing.
Uh-huh. Like, but why do you think we feel like we have the need to be fixed? Why can't we just appreciate just being there? Like, well, I mean, I know when I'm in my
Mhm.
broken state, I don't like that feeling.
I
But
don't
why would,
either.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's what's interesting too. Even, we talk so much, like, and you and I have had conversations about healing and, becoming the
Uh-huh.
best version of ourselves. Not like there's anything wrong with the other
Right.
versions, but,
Right. Right.
it's to want that growth and to facilitate that without thinking you have to
Mhm.
do it because you are broken, right? Like those are two different
Right.
things too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It is two different things, different things. And I really wish people can understand that they are absolutely two totally different things, like
Mhm.
it's two different spaces that you're operating in. Why do you
Yeah.
think trauma overtakes an individual and it kind of just paralyzes them? Why do you think that might be?
Absolutely. I think that what happens with trauma is, especially, if it happens to you at a younger age when you are not very solid in your own sense of identity, or you haven't yet made sense of your own experiences, right?
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
can really, then you start off with different coping mechanisms to move through something. And
Mhm.
like what happened with me is that over time, those coping mechanisms, I just thought they were part of my personality. And I
Uh-huh.
thought that, not understanding like, oh, I created these things for myself, or I started doing some of these behaviors in a way to feel safe or as a way to protect myself.
Mhm.
And, so I think that that's what's hard because a lot of individuals have had traumatic or, instances of crisis in their childhood. And so without being able to have somebody to help you process that, without having somebody to be able to talk to you about your feelings and about what happened and to help you build resilience, I think
Mhm.
there are a lot of wounded adults walking around because we just didn't, that's only now becoming part of this mainstream conversation that we
Uh-huh.
hear about, emotional processing and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff. And so I think unfortunately for a lot of individuals, it's that initial trauma response. We hold on to it because we don't always know when to let it go because we might not feel safe enough yet to let it go.
Yeah, and it becomes a security blanket sometimes at times, certain traumatic experiences. And then don't get to a point where you're talking about those experiences because that just becomes like your identity. And you
Yep.
feel like if I talk about it, I can't get healed from it because now this is what's getting me attention right now. So
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be made whole. I don't want to heal from it. But there is a
Mhm.
beautiful side of you that is just so undeveloped and so untapped being and walking in that healed side of you. Tell us
Mhm.
about some of the traumatic experiences that you did. What was a coping mechanism that you had for one of the traumatic experiences you have?
One of the things that I did is I one of the things that my abuser said to me is no one would ever love me and I was never going to amount to anything. So like I just was going to prove him wrong.
Come
And
through.
so that's where some of my insane drive and my desire to constantly have the next thing and achieve the next thing and to push harder and to go forward, it stems from that little girl who's still wounded and scared from that. And it took me a really long time to understand that. I couldn't figure out why I'd have all these achievements or these things, and then I'd be on to the next thing. Like I never stopped to like celebrate myself or to be like, yes, that feels amazing, or I'm so proud of myself, or I really wanted that. It was just like, yep. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. So really, that was a big one for me to recognize and to really be able to stop myself now and ask myself like, okay, why are you doing the thing you're doing? Is it because you really want this for yourself, or is it because you think there's an expectation there from somebody else, or you're trying to people please somebody? So it was really, again, like looking not only at, nobody would look at accomplishments and think that's a negative thing.
Right,
So
right.
being able to understand that it's like, it's not just about some of the things that we think are negative or the ways that we numb out, but it's also like, where are those driving forces for you coming from, and just looking at, so that was an interesting one to me that has been really, hard for me to step back now and be like, okay, what do I want? And it's really confusing a lot of the times because I realize that I haven't ever stopped to think about it just from my own inner self perspective.
Do you think that any of your experiences has caused you to be like a overachiever or wanting to dive into allowing your accomplishments to that's what you wear versus you saying that I was a wounded individual?
Yeah.
Hey y'all, it's Tiffany Rochelle here, and I have a few offers just for you. The first one is my book, and it's called I Choose Me. Now, I have had to fight in some type of way or another, but the best fight that I fought is the battle of me. The old me versus the emerging me. Now, the old me always threw some good punches, but the emerging me knew how to stick and move because I learned the art of endurance. I'm so much better than my past hate was and is so hard to hold on to. Choose to let love abide. Try to hold hate with love, and you tell me who is strong. The second offer is a workbook I have called Gold Digger. Now, there are about 47 activities that we will go through so that you will be able to crush some of your goals for your life. You purchasing this book is one of the first of many steps to bettering your life. There's action plans that you can take action on, and they should be incorporated into a daily planned routine. Lastly, I have a course on forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't just a nice thing to do. It can also be a powerful tool to bring marvelous change in your life. In this course, you'll learn how to effectively use the skills of forgiveness to help you lead a more peaceful and satisfying life. You will be introduced to the basics of forgiveness, including what it is and how it can affect you. So, today, unleash the power of forgiveness to create a more meaningful life. Next, I want you to learn that it is okay for you to choose you. And lastly, develop a mindset to see and crush some of your goals. Looking so forward to growing with you. I'm excited for you and your growth. Grace and peace.
Do you think that any of your experiences has caused you to be like a overachiever or wanting to dive into allowing your accomplishments to that's what you wear versus you saying that I was a wounded individual?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think so. I think that then it allowed me to divorce this part of my identity that was this sad, scared, wounded little girl. Because
Uh-huh.
honestly, nobody growing up would have known that about me either. I was also just going to be happy and make sure everybody loved me again,
Mhm.
so I could prove him
Yeah.
wrong because
Mhm.
I believed
Who's the
him.
him?
As a child, I
Who's the
believed
him?
the him is I was sexually abused when I was a child. And
Okay.
so that
Okay.
I'm referring to my abuser. And I think that that's one of the things too, the emotional manipulation that can happen. And that's really what a lot of it was for me, and not understanding that, even then when I went on to heal, like I didn't actually go back to look at and process from my abuse until I was, decades later. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anyone. So I think too, like, understanding that you have to heal from the physical aspect of that and how that feels in your body. But then really for me, it was about understanding how his messages carried through with me every single day in all of these different ways, and so understanding that part of my wanting these achievements is because I didn't have this internal self-worth. So I was constantly seeking external validation or accolades because I still did feel the way he made me feel back then, So I think it's a really difficult space for people, and it's not easy to do that. It's not easy to, look at your past, especially when something's happened to you, because I don't want to then make it like, well, then now I have to do all this work because somebody else did something to me. But you know what? That's what a lot of it is, right? Is to understand, who was I before that trauma and how do I be that person again?
Oh, that's the beautiful things to walk in that individual and grow from that person. Because not just be that person you were before that trauma happened, it's be that person, but be that evolved person. Because it might have happened when you were, let's just say, 6 years old or so. And
It was when I was 6. You're like clairvoyant.
don't make me walk in my gift now. Hold on, because if I tap into it, I'm not doing that today, no ma'am. But certain things will happen at the. When did your voice become unmuted? Because like at one point in time, you felt like you didn't have to say anything. And sometimes when situations happen, when we're like 6, I'm not going to ever say your age. I'll just say my age that I tell everybody. I am 25 plus some shipping and handling, a lot of shipping and handling. Okay. So, but like whatever situation happened when you were at that 6 years old, and now that you're at the 25 and shipping and handling, you're still that person. But once you realize I'm that beautiful little girl that I was at that point, but now I'm here and I need to evolve from, or let that 6-year-old grow up. When did your 6-year-old girl grow up? I guess is what I'm asking.
It's interesting because it only happened as the result of another trauma. And I had several other things happen in my life too that I, in retrospect, probably should have been the thing that pushed me toward that, but I wasn't ready, or wasn't in that space where I could address that. So it was really in 2019, or actually 2018, my family was hit by a drunk driver.
Wow.
And even though we walked away, we had minor physical injuries. What that did to me emotionally is it all of a sudden just took me back. It was like all the stuff that I'd worked so hard, all these facades that I had up and making myself okay and being okay. I couldn't do it anymore. And all of these things that I had just worked so hard to push aside were just right there, like poking me. And so it was then that I started to understand, like I was scared again because I was scared. And I was like, why does this feeling hurt me so badly? I'm fine. I'm not in danger in my car or anything like that. But it was that feeling of fear. And I think in part why that one was the thing that kind of broke me a little bit more is because I felt so victimized in that moment because this drunk driver came. My family, we were just coming home from a movie. We weren't doing anything wrong. It was a Sunday night, and so I think I was so upset because it really derailed my life financially, emotionally, all this stuff. And I remember feeling like, here I am, and I didn't do anything wrong. And so I think it was that, honestly, of then being back to being this little kid of like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why is this happening to me? And so I couldn't keep up anymore with what I had been, pretending was fine. And so I really had to go back and understand again, the ways that trauma had changed my perception of things, the way that it changed the way I looked at myself. And then I just kind of went off on my own area. I dropped off of social media. I stopped talking to a lot of friends, and really because I was trying to save myself at that point. And it took a lot of really deep, like healing work. It took a long time. I did a lot of writing and processing. And that's what my book is, I never ever expected to write a book. I never expected to tell this story, but it was after I kind of got to a place where I understood things for myself. I read back my journals
Mm.
And being a professor, I do a lot of research and things. And so I started to see these themes in my journals. So I
Yeah.
seriously have all these like colored highlighters, and I was like highlighting my themes and,
Yeah.
making myself data.
Uh-huh.
And I sat back and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like that's what these things are, and that's what's
Mhm.
happening. And then I just had this feeling, that I couldn't be the only person who had these experiences, who had these thoughts. And so I
Sure.
really felt in that moment, I was like, I have to make this a book.
Mhm.
And so I really, again, there's no way I could have planned that. There's no way I thought that. And some days I'm still like, why did I do that?
Right, right.
But it
Seriously,
was,
but
it didn't feel like a choice, if
uh-huh.
that makes sense. It felt like something I was
Yeah.
supposed to do, like that I was called to do that.
Mhm.
And I think the thing about that is so beautiful to me is that, not only did that help me heal, now I get to heal more deeply through other people by helping
Yeah.
them and by hearing their experiences. And every time somebody tells me they've read my book or that they have my book, like I take that so much to heart. You can tell I'm tearing up
Uh-huh.
because it it feels so powerful to me, like that little girl did that. So
Yeah.
it's just a really, the big point of that story, I think, is like you just never know where your breaking point really is going to be or
Right.
what's going to fuel you to that next space.
Uh-huh.
And so it took me a lot longer than I thought it would
Uh,
have.
I'm grateful you allowed the little girl to grow up. So you just showed me that the little girl can evolve. Like you don't
Mhm.
have to stay that young girl at all. We can
Mhm.
evolve, we can grow, we can get accolades, we can become doctors and call me professor, call me beautiful, you can call me wonderful, you could call me a queen. And whatever it is you decide to call me, I can own that label. And even if you
Mhm.
decide to say something negative, I realize that's your worldview.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that's who I actually am. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like there
Mhm.
is so much beauty in really realizing that that's somebody else's opinion. They attempted to inflict their pain on me. You know, whoever did whatever they did to us when we were younger, they didn't know how to get it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, certain things happen to us. And I'm saying us because if it happened to you, it happened to me because, we became one. Because you're my
Mhm.
friend, you're my sister. We blue sisters, okay? But nevertheless, like it happened to you. And I've had traumatic experiences as
Mhm.
well. It's not just I'm saying your experience is my experience and we're going through this together because you've grown through it. So I wasn't at certain experiences. However, it's like, that happened to whatever they were dealing with, they dealt with, and we kind of suffered from it, but we
Mhm.
didn't stay in that suffering way. So I'm just
Mhm.
grateful that you were able to evolve from that and you're able to tell your story so that other ladies and even gentlemen,
Mhm.
can grow from it. Like they can walk in their healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in part, I think what made it, we're so often, especially, traditionally women are so much more likely to go help somebody else or to want to be there for somebody else. And so I think in part, my job allowed me, I always say I became a communication studies professor because I wanted to help other people use their voice because I didn't know how to use my own. And so I think I got
Wow.
such
Wait,
like,
pause. You can't just say that fast like you didn't just say something cute. Like that was cute. That was a powerful statement. Did you just rattle that off, or is that something that you actually say for real, for real? Do you
no,
remember?
that's really what I believe. I really believe that like I didn't know how to use my own voice, so that's why it was so important for me to study communication and help other people. And I
Wow.
think what I didn't see, I see it now, of course, but I think then because that felt so good to me to help other people and to do
Yeah.
that, that
Mhm.
then I kind of further stepped back from the understanding that I needed to do that for myself.
Yeah.
So then as time went on, I felt like I couldn't do it for myself. And so I was like, why am I so good at helping other people, but I can't get there? So I
Mm.
think like I'm saying that because I think a lot of times too, we want to help other people, but it's really stepping back and understanding if we're in a position or if we need to do a little more work and help ourselves.
Mhm.
And that was something that was a really hard lesson for me to learn, is to really even to step back and to say no and to not help as many people then, or no, I can't volunteer for that, because understanding that I had to do this for myself instead of chasing the only feel good feeling because I helped somebody else. Like I need to also be able to give that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think women in particular, we kind of fall into that because it does feel good to be able to help other people and be,
Yes.
be there. And we're trained to be nurturers and caregivers and all those other stereotypical genderized things,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right, absolutely. But it felt good when I was able to nurture on myself. Like one story I absolutely love to tell is I found out the benefit of I fly a lot, and they always tell you you gotta secure your mask first
Mhm.
before you help somebody else. Well, I mean that's grateful, but it became a reality to me. I was a teenage mom, right? And I breastfed all three of my kids. But
Mhm.
my second child, which is my only daughter, she taught me a super valuable lesson. And I was nursing her. I nursed all my kids, but I don't know what it was about nursing my only girl that changed my life. So it felt like she used my boobs as a pacifier. And I did not understand. And I'm like, she had this little, so she would cry, but when she did that, I knew she was hungry, right? So I would go ahead and nurse her, and and it just felt like she just never would get full. And I did not understand why were you not getting full? What's happening? Happened to go, and she was my fattest kid too, and I didn't understand that. She was the biggest one I had. Thick little girl, so cute. I promise you, she was adorable. I'm not saying that because she's mine. She really is adorable. But I went to the doctor. So the doctor was asking me, like, hey, Tiffany, what did you eat? And I'm like, why are you worried about what I eat? Stay out of my refrigerator. This is my house. Don't worry about it. And so she's like, no, seriously, like, what did you eat? And I'm like, I don't know. I hadn't had breakfast, just little minor here and there. I'm like, whatever. And so I kind of gave her the breakdown of what I ate and what I didn't eat. How much did you drink? And I'm like, drinking, like I don't drink, but she needed to know how much water was I, taking in or whatever. So as I explained to her, what my diet was, that's when she realized that's my problem. That's why I feel like my daughter isn't getting enough nutrients, and I feel like she's using me as a pacifier because I am not taking care of myself. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't drinking enough. The minute that I started eating and the minute that I started hydrating myself, I found out she's not coming to me as much and she's not hampering,
Interesting.
you know, as much
Mhm.
as she was. The minute that I took care of me and provided nutrients for my body, then that's when she was able to be taken care of. So as time grew up, I realized, wow, there is importance in taking care of you. And
Mhm.
so as I started taking care of myself and I start dealing and ministering to me, eating for me before I digest or I regurgitate it, whatever I guess you would say, and give to others, I had to eat first. So
Mhm.
the healing that I was providing for other individuals and everything that I'm doing for everybody else, I said, hey, you got to do this for you.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
super important. It's super important.
Absolutely. And I think but it's so easy to fall in the trap of just like you're going through the motions or you're doing the thing without really, yeah, nurturing yourself,
Mhm,
without whether it be through food, through movement, through
mhm.
rest, through all the ways that we just kind of punish our bodies.
Uh-huh. And I don't want to punish my body no more, especially
Mm-mm.
now I'm getting old,
No,
25.
I was gonna say it catches up with me a lot more if I punish it now. And it
Listen, if
lasts
I
a lot
stood
longer.
up, I ain't showing you guys what I look like standing up, even though it might look nice. Listen, age is catching up to me. Food is catching up to me. Not resting is starting to catch up to me. So
Mhm.
I got to make sure I take care of me. And not only do I take care of me, we all need to take care of each other. Not just
Mhm.
like me taking care of you. You need to take care of me, meaning self. Take care of
Mhm.
self. Question for you. What is emotional intelligence? Because that's
So
something you talk about as well.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, there are different pillars of emotional intelligence, but basically it's just if you think of it like, we have our IQ with our brain, it's like our emotional IQ, right? So how aware are we of our own feelings and our own emotions? How
Mhm.
aware are we of how those impact our relationships, right? Like you can know you're
Yeah.
mad, but like do
Mhm.
you know how it's impacting you and your patterns?
Mm.
How much empathy do you have for other people and their situations and their awareness? How able are you to have those discussions about your feelings and their feelings and to move through conflict. So it's really
Mhm.
about, a lot of the personal growth literature, a lot of
Okay.
the ways that we develop self-awareness. So many of those things are rooted in those principles of emotional intelligence. And it's really just this idea that we can continually improve upon those skills, and we do start at different places. Some people were raised differently and we have different personalities, right? So it's not to try to make everybody into some bot who's the same, but more just, again, like, what does this look like for you? And, are you aware of how you're showing up, basically?
Oh, come through. Are you aware of how you're gonna make sure that we are cognizant and pay attention to that? Dang it, girl.
Yeah.
Now that's going to be my thing for the week. How are you showing up? How are you looking?
And even if you don't show up the way you want to in that moment, then do you realize it, right? So it's like, okay, you might not have, but do you recognize it and understand how to adapt and go forward? And are you willing to kind of change some of those behaviors, right? And so that's where, too, a lot of times, you think about it, we all know people, we've all been the person who knows, but I'm not going to change for anybody. This is just who I am. It's like, well, what if who you are is a jerk,
That part. You know what? I will say I do have these moments that I have really come to the conclusion I am a jerk. But I'm owning that now. But just in one thing I can say though, just because you own it, that doesn't mean that it's cool. I do know that I have jerkish moments. And
we all do.
seriously,
We all do.
wait, but see, some of us know that we have jerk moments, but we won't own that. And it was like, me? Who? I wasn't like that. I'm not like that. No, I own that I can be a jerk. And hence one of the reasons why this show kind of came about as in Hear My Heart. Because sometimes I may say stuff, and I was having a conversation with one of my friends. And as I was having a conversation with one of my friends, I realized my tone did change. The texture in my tone kind of changed. I got a little more attitude-y, or whatever. And I can be kind of sarcastic, condescending, and sadistic at times. I know that about me. I really do understand that about me. However, for me, the Hear My Heart kind of came about because I'm like, sometimes I have those moments that and I'll tell you, if we're in conversation, I'm like, hey, I can't handle that like right now. Yep. And I'll say something and it might sound harsh. And I'm like, I'm just going to say it and I'll fix it later, but I have to kind of get it out. I need you to hear what's on my heart. I need you to understand how this is how I'm feeling. So and it might sound a little rough, but hey, hear my heart though. Like I might say it a little rough, and that doesn't mean that it's okay, but I just need to express the sentiments of my heart. And so once you hear what's on my heart, then you be like, oh, I get it. And if I would have sugared it and buttered it up, you might not have understood it. But when I just say it, maybe fix it later, then you kind of get it. That's kind of how it is. Hear the words of my heart.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like, that's such a vulnerable space to be in, is to really be able to say that and to trust that, you know what, I'm going to say it in this way, but I'm going to hope that this person I'm saying it to, maybe my friend, maybe my romantic partner, maybe my kid, maybe whoever, that they're going to also love and trust me enough that then I can come back and explain it if it came out sideways or if I, what have you. And that's, I think, like also part of it, right? Like recognizing, we can express ourselves in the ways that we need to, but other people aren't always going to hear us in the way that we want them to, right? So
it happens. That's a reality. Jesus, it's a reality. And again, I will always preference it by saying, hey, I need you to hear me, hear the words of my heart. I need you to listen to me now, like here. But I always give a disclaimer, but that goes a part of recognizing how you're feeling. Like you made reference to, you got to own how you're feeling. And for me, I've sat with myself in silence for so long, I'm able to say, it's not a good moment for me. But when I recognize that, not only do I hear it, I take heed to it. And I have to respect me enough because I'm respecting you. Oh, I see you're in a space. Oh my God. But when I get in that space, the same care and concern I have for you, I gotta have for me too. And that's important for us to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. So we're coming to the end of the show. I'm so grateful that you decided to stop here. I get to ask you my favorite game. You ready for it?
I am.
It's called the This or That. So I get to ask you questions, this or that, and you got to give me your answer, and then you got to tell me why you chose that answer. Ready?
Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm so nervous.
I swear it's not going to be hard. It's going to be something easy. This is stuff that's right up your alley. Ready?
Okay.
Who has it harder, men or women?
Oh, this one I say women. I'm going to say women. And, you know, the gender professor in me wants to tell you like, oh, it's equal and everything's the same. But the woman in me is saying woman.
Yo, you
And
can't say that. I had water in my mouth. I really almost spit. It's the same woman.
And I think, you know, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and just say that so much of that is because of the societal upbringing, the different structures and the different systems. And, you know, there are still so many ways that I think, you know, we don't have equality. And until we can feel that a little bit more across many different contexts, I think that that's where obviously I'm going to admit my bias to, you know, but I think that men have it harder in different ways. You know, you and I have had conversations before about, you know, men are basically a lot of times not allowed to have emotional expression, or they're shamed for that, right? And so even just recognizing the ways that we both have it hard in just in different spaces and in different ways. And hard is also relative, right? So it might be easy for me to express my emotion. So I might think, oh, that's not that big of a deal that men can't do that. But like at the same time, if I couldn't and I felt really stifled in that way, I would feel that that was really hard. So that's my long-winded professorial non-answer.
Listen, come on. I absolutely love it. Come on and give me your speech. I'm all for it. But I just love the fact that you still even said, even though you were pro woman in your answer, how you made statement, but you still gave men their space. And you was like, hey, we're all just kind of different. I just like how
Yeah.
you celebrated men a little bit in that. So
No, and because I do think that the pitting of the genders against one another, you know, I really hope we can get away from that in some ways, because it's like recognizing, like, honestly, there's just so many different ways where we are all subscribing to some of those ideals still too, right? Instead of and so it's really cool for me to see the ways that I think different generations are just embracing individuality instead of like trying to make everything into a men versus women
right.
game, you know?
I mean, it can be a game, like, but
Yeah.
we're playing
Well, I mean,
Connect
a lot of times
Four.
it
Or
is. I mean,
yeah, I want to do games like for real, like girls versus guys and Connect Four, or Go Fish. I can't even think of like games for that's when we men versus women. But as far as game of life, well, we could play that game for real, the game of
you
life.
know,
Life,
okay,
life.
so one of my gender students actually took the game of life one year. They had a
Yeah,
project and
yeah.
she redid it from a woman's perspective. Like I still
Oh,
have it because it was really cool. So like she took the
oh,
actual game piece of the game of life. And so it was things like had a baby, congratulations, move back 3 spaces because now your career's in
oh,
the toilet. Like, it was stuff like,
oh,
yeah, because she took it from like a gender perspective of like, here's, you
yeah.
know, or and so it was really interesting to see her take on that. So I think the thing of it is too is again it's like the different hardships or the different struggles and things that you feel
Yeah.
right are so much based on what that plight looks like to you.
Oh, yo, I
And
like that. I
so
want to play that game. Go back and get in
okay, I'll
contact
bring
with
it, I'll
us.
come visit you and then we can play.
Let you play with me if you want to. I'm saying I'm serious about that. Let's do it. I'm down for it.
Yeah, it was
I
really
might.
neat because it was just stuff that you didn't even think about in this
Mhm.
game, you know, the game of life. She really did. She just reworded like so many of the
Yeah.
questions, or it was like, congratulations, you got a promotion, but you have to say no because your daycare closes at 5. You know,
Yeah.
it was like,
But
oh,
that's it's life. So that's
it's life,
exactly what
right?
happened. Dang, that's powerful. I don't care. I'm about to give me a ticket. I might have to come see you. Forget when you come. I'm coming to see you. Forget that. Tell me this. Question 2. What's more draining, to express your feelings or for you just to shut down?
Oh, in the long run, to shut down for
Mhm.
me. And it goes back to even like what you were stating about like sometimes when it's on my heart, I used to shut down all the time. And now I know I just need to say it, because if I don't, I'm going to expend more energy. I'm going to shut down. I am really going to just like lose myself in the process. But
Uh-huh.
then I'm going to sit about and think about it and ruminate and wonder
Yeah.
what I should do. So
Mhm.
it's so much easier for me, just like you, to
Mhm.
express what's on my heart, express my feelings. And then if I have to explain them differently, or if I have to
Mhm.
step away from them, then to pretend they don't exist or to hide or mask them.
Right. Oh, I love that. Okay. I'm so grateful to know that I'm not alone. You are not alone. I don't sing, but that just dropped in my spirit. I'm sorry. Last question. This is personal for me. You ready? I need to know, Batman or Superman?
Oh my goodness, no one has ever asked me that. I think I immediately have to go for Batman just because like the whole like Prince of Darkness situation, I resonate with that.
I know. I told you we were sisters. Listen, do it. You're my friend. Let me tell you about my best friend. Yes, Batman. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me let you go. I just got really excited. That's my guy. So.
Yeah, the dark, brooding, mysterious. Yeah, that feels right.
Listen, I appreciate you. I told you, you just got another notch on your friendship belt. I appreciate you. Hats off to you. Well, not off, just I'm gonna nod it. Can't take this off. Nevertheless, I'm so excited that you decided to stop in with me. Thank you. And thank you for choosing Batman, okay? Because he's human. So I appreciate that. Tell me this. What is your final words that you want to say to the Hear My Heart Nation?
You summed it up really great in your introduction just by telling them, share. You're not alone. And if you don't share, if you don't talk about your experiences, if you don't share this podcast or others and tell people, you never know who you might be helping. But also, I feel like we heal ourselves a little more deeply too if we stop hiding from our own experiences.
Oh, yeah. Well, I almost stopped hiding and took my hat off because I just felt like I just need to come out of hiding. I'm not doing that though. I'm going to hide this hair. That's what I'm going to do. Sunshine, thank you for being my sunshine on this cloudy day. I'm so grateful that you stopped in. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love talking to you. This was just great.
You are a delight. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for adding to your resume, Hear My Heart. I appreciate that. Yo, that's going to be it for today's show. Join me next week at the same Hear My Heart time at the same Hear My Heart channel. We'll be here next week with another very special VIP. That's it for tonight. Grace and peace, y'all.
Bye.